What's up, guys? This is Zach Hampel here with you, and I gotta start by saying that just within the last couple of weeks, someone left me a comment right here on YouTube and asked if I've ever thought about doing a video about my favorite player on all of the MLB teams. And I mentioned in my next video that that was a good idea, and I was thinking of doing it. Someone heard that and left their own comment, and they were like, yeah, the favorite player on every different team is a good idea. So that's what this is all about. I am taking your ideas and suggestions and turning it into a video. And one other thing, I have no idea how many months or years into the future that people will be watching this, but it's March 2020 right now, and at the moment, the coronavirus is wreaking havoc on the world. It's a global pandemic. And so everybody's basically confined to their homes. And so I figured, why not do a super long video and just chat with you guys, whether it's 20 minutes, 30 minutes. I don't know how long this is gonna end up being, but none of us really have anything to do right now. So let's get to it. And I thought that the best way to structure this video would be to just basically run through the teams alphabetically, not by city name, but by team name, which would mean that the Angels are first, which would mean that I get to talk about Mike Trout first. And I'm gonna start by showing a very important piece of memorabilia that bears his name. You can see it right here. This is a bat that he gave to me and signed to me last year in Arlington, Texas. And don't worry, this whole video is not gonna be a memorabilia show and tell. This is actually the only piece of memorabilia that I will show in this video. But I figured, why not start with a bang? So, as a lot of you guys already know, I caught Mike Trout's first Major League home run in 2011 in Baltimore. He remembered me ever since then. He's always been cool to me. That's how I got the bat. And he's just so cool in general to fans. For a superstar to be that chill and accessible, it almost never happens. He signs autographs pretty much before every game, so that makes me like him more. And then, of course, there's Mike Trout, the player. I mean, I could do an entire half-an-hour video just talking about how great he is, but we do want to get through it. I'll say this, among all active players, he is second in career WAR. Now, he's still well below 30, so by the time he is 30, his WAR is going to be creeping up even higher on the list, and at that point, everybody above him on the list, it's going to be like a who's who of Hall of Famers. So he's the best player of this generation by far. I don't think anybody would dispute that. And he's almost the best player of the last 2 or 3 generations. I don't know, that's up for debate, but what an absolute stud. Not just my favorite player on the Angels, but my favorite player all time. And as you'll see, as we keep going through more players, like we're gonna get into the Astros now, and Joe Biagini, yeah, he's my favorite on the Astros. I have a personal connection to a lot of the guys that I'm gonna be talking about. So with Joe Biagini and the Astros, they're a little bit hard to like right now. And this is not gonna be a hater video bashing them or anything like that. But look, they got Carlos Correa and Jose Altuve and Alex Bregman and, you know, a lot of guys that are super talented. They're gonna be around for a long time. And I think eventually people will forgive and forget to some extent. But right now, I'm still sort of feeling like this for the Astros. So I'm going with Joe Biagini, who only pitched 14.2 innings for them last year. His ERA was 7.36. So why would he be my favorite player? Well, it's because one of my favorite baseball people in the world, a good friend named Brad, shout out to Brad in California. Brad has been friends forever with Joe Biagini's father. So I've been hearing stories about Joe since very early in his career, and I just feel like a little personal connection to him through this weird friend to dad to player roundabout thing. So that's why I'm going with Joe Biagini, and I hope that Joe bounces back and has a much better season in 2020, if there even is a season, which is crazy to say, but that's the reality. So moving on to the Athletics, I'm gonna go with Chris Davis. Now, he and I are basically the same height, 5'11". And if you're under 6 feet tall, that's considered short for Major League Baseball standards. And yet, he has ridiculous power. He's so fun to watch. He swings like a maniac, and somehow he makes it work. He had 3 consecutive seasons of 40-plus home runs, 4 consecutive seasons batting exactly .247, which is just so absurd and fantastic. I am always a fan of statistical oddities, and that is one of the more extreme ones that I think anybody has seen in quite some time. I also met Chris Davis during spring training in Arizona early in March in 2018. He was so chill, very friendly, not just to me, but to all the fans. He was just took his time. He was chatting with everyone, signing autographs. And as a result, I really find myself rooting for him. Moving on to the Blue Jays. Gotta go with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. I absolutely loved his dad. I think basically everybody who ever saw his dad loved his dad, which I think makes it some sort of legal obligation to also love the kid. So Vladdy has power that rivals anybody in Major League Baseball. Super fun to watch for that reason. If you look at his numbers from last year, he only hit 15 home runs. His OPS was only 772, so you might think, like, what's the big deal? Well, that was his rookie season, and he was only 20 years old, okay? Can we please just keep that in mind? Didn't play the full season either. So I think you're gonna see dramatic improvement from him, and maybe we will see a father-son Hall of Fame duo. That would really, really be fun. All right, for the Braves, I'm going with Nick Markakis. Now, I don't know if you guys know this, but I wrote for minorleaguebaseball.com for 3 seasons way back in the day, 2005 to 2007. And in 2005, when Markakis was in Double-A with the Bowie Bay Sox in the Orioles organization, I actually talked to him on the phone because I had to interview some players after a game. I called the clubhouse, and Markakis was unexpectedly, randomly put on the phone. And I just always happen to remember his name. He was a stud in the minors, a stud with the Orioles, kind of slowed down a bit, but he's really been solid throughout his career. He's 36 years old, and if he can average 160 hits per season for the next 4 seasons, he'll get 3,000 hits for his career. And that is definitely within the realm of possibility. I mean, he doesn't even have to have all-star caliber seasons. Just stay healthy, be a good, solid major leaguer. 3,000 hits, that puts him in a discussion for the Hall of Fame. And I don't think a lot of people realize that he is even worthy of being in that discussion. So, always liked him. He's got a great arm, good defensive player. Nick Markakis, he's my man on the Braves. On the Brewers, okay, let me just start by saying this. Anytime a professional athlete can make other professional athletes look silly and almost stupid, I take notice, and it's just sort of like, wow, how do they even do that? Now, there's a player on the Brewers who is so dominant that it's almost hard to believe, and I'm talking about Josh Hader. Tall, skinny, lefty reliever, just insane what he can do. For his entire career, okay, opponents are batting 146 against him, and his whip is .085. And you want to talk about strikeouts per innings? 349 Ks in 204.2 innings. I mean, he's closer to 2 strikeouts per inning than 1 strikeout per inning, which is just... I know in this day and age, guys are swinging for the fences all the time and pitchers are throwing harder, so everybody's strikeout numbers are up, but that is still mightily impressive. On the Cardinals, I'm going with Yadier Molina, future Hall of Famer, I think, I hope. If you just look at his offensive stats, you might kind of be like, Hall of Famer, I don't know about that. But 9 Gold Gloves, 9 All-Star selections, and he hit a home run to me during a game which I got in St. Louis in September of 2018. Come on. That's also worthy of some Hall of Fame consideration. But seriously, just one of the great all-time catchers. I think he's 38 years old now, so his career is definitely winding down. So we can all hopefully appreciate seeing him for a little bit longer. I mean, he's even got cool neck tattoos. That's pretty badass. So yeah, I just love watching Yachty. He's just like an artist at work. And speaking of amazing players behind the plate, I got to go with Willson Contreras if we're talking about the Cubs. He's 27 years old. He's got a long, bright future ahead of him. He is the complete package. He hits like crazy. He's great defensively, has a cannon for an arm. And I do have a personal connection with him, which is pretty awesome. In 2018, Willson and I played baseball together on the field at Wrigley Field, just the two of us, one-on-one. It was actually for a promotional video for Gatorade. I will link to that video in the description for this one. Definitely check it out if you haven't seen it. And again, since none of us really have anything to do right now, you should probably just rewatch all of my videos like 17 times. But seriously, Willson, what a guy. We took BP together. I was hitting balls close to the warning track. He was launching them over the bleachers onto Waveland Avenue, which, you know, that's what you do if you're a stud in the majors. But just to see it up close and how cool he was, we played catch, we did all this stuff. So Willson, with 2 L's in his name, love him. Absolutely love him. On the Diamondbacks, it's Madison Bumgarner, and it's weird to see him wearing a D-backs hat, right? After having so many great seasons with that orange SF on his cap. But Mad Bum, he's kind of another no-nonsense guy. He just does not take crap from anybody. Goes about his business, shows no emotion, which is almost disconcerting sometimes, but part of me also thinks it's cool. And as great of a pitcher as he is almost as good as a hitter. If you are ever at a game and you are fortunate enough to see Madison Bumgarner step up into the cage for batting practice, get ready and go about 430 feet from home plate in straightaway left field, because the man hits bombs. And as far as his pitching resume, there's a lot to say about him. Let's talk about the postseason for a second. He's pitched more than 100 career innings in the postseason with a 2.11 ERA. That by itself should make people think about the Hall of Fame for him. Hopefully he'll put up the overall career numbers during the regular season for Hall of Fame consideration, but I mean, what a complete player he is. And I think he's still only about 30 years old, so he could have many, many more great seasons ahead. Moving on to the Dodgers, again, I have a personal connection, not because of any memorabilia collected, but because of a brilliant pitching performance that I saw in person. May 4th, 2018, I was in Monterrey, Mexico for a regular season game between the Dodgers and the Padres. 4 Dodgers pitchers combined on a no-hitter. Walker Buehler pitched the first 6 innings. So I really didn't know too much about him at that time, but his name has just been stuck in my head ever since, and he's really great. Young righty, mid-20s, fireballer, great future ahead of him. Hopefully he'll be around for a decade plus doing all kinds of great things. Wouldn't be surprised to see him pitch a complete game no-hitter someday, because he really does have that kind of stuff. On the Giants, I love, in a platonic way, but I really love Hunter Pence. And I'm so glad that he's back in San Francisco. His career's on the way down, let's face it. So hopefully he stays healthy and, you know, sticks around for another season or 2 or 3, who knows. But if he is healthy and plays a full season, if there is a full, I guess there's not going to be a full season, but let's put it this way. He's coming up on 250 home runs career and 1,000 RBIs. Not Hall of Fame numbers, but still in that category of like, wow, this guy is the man, and he's been great, and he's played for a long time. Another batting practice hero. If you see him take BP, go way out there in left field. He's so much fun. Just seems like a really cool, quirky dude. Used to ride his scooter right around San Francisco to get to games, and hopefully he'll still be doing that and interacting with lots of people on the way. What a cool dude. On the Indians, Oliver Perez, kind of an odd choice maybe. Now that I'm getting up there in age myself, I can relate to the older players sometimes. Oliver Perez, he's 38 years old right now. He's been around forever and a half. He came up with the Padres in 2002. Does anybody even remember that? And of course, myself living in New York, I see the Mets and Yankees play a lot. Oliver Perez was on the Mets for a while. I remember seeing him pitch at Shea Stadium, which was really a terrible stadium, and yet I still miss it a whole lot. So when I think about Oliver Perez, I think about baseball going back almost an entire generation. Lefty pitcher, quirky windup, quirky overall, and hopefully he stays healthy and pitches well into his 40s. That would be fun to see. Moving on to the M's. We start with the Mariners, and I still wish that I could say that Ichiro is my favorite player on the Mariners. I mean, he still dresses up in uniform and takes BP for them, so like almost Ichiro with an asterisk. But since I can't go with Ichiro, and I can't go with Ken Griffey Jr., or Randy Johnson, or Edgar Martinez, or Jay Buhner, I'm gonna go with Yusei Kikuchi. Now, Yusei and Ichiro have a pretty cool connection beyond the fact that they're both part of the Mariners organization, beyond the fact that they're both from Japan. On May 21st of last year, I was at the Tokyo Dome for a regular season game between the A's and the Mariners. Yusei Kikuchi made his major league debut, and that also happened to be Ichiro's final game ever in the major league. So that was so cool to be a part of. Out with the old, in with the new. That really made me take notice of Yusei Kikuchi. He made 32 starts last year. He stayed healthy. His numbers were not great. His ERA was up in the 5s. But I think you're going to see consistent improvement from him. I certainly hope so. Moving on to the Marlins. I'm going with Jonathan Villar, who is kind of sneakily talented offensively. 2016 with the Brewers, he stole 62 bases. Who even steals bases anymore? He's like still making it cool. And last year, he was with the Orioles, the very lowly Orioles. I'm sorry, Orioles fans. No hate intended, but let's be real. Your team really sucked. Jonathan Villar still managed to score 111 runs last year for the Orioles, which I think is kind of impressive. Now, speaking of 2016, when he was on the Brewers, I saw him play in San Francisco. I was sitting right behind the first base dugout, and I got a broken bat from him during the game, which almost never happens. It's even harder now in all these stadiums with protective netting going up. But back then there was no netting and it was easy to interact, and got a bat from the dude. So yeah, thumbs up to Jonathan Villar for his offensive stats and his generosity. Now on the Mets, for me, this is an obvious choice. I'm going with the polar bear, Pete Alonso. Last year as a rookie, he hit 53 home runs, which is just so crazy. He's got gargantuan power, so fun to watch. I mean, he hits line drives that go like 460 feet. And he's just, I mean, he also won the home run derby in Cleveland. I was there. And just such a great guy. He seems very down to earth and authentic, and he's generous with charitable work and just accessible to the fans. He is very quickly becoming so many people's favorite player, and not just people in New York. The Nationals of Washington, I am going with Juan Soto. Another quick personal connection, September of 2018, I snagged a game home run ball that he hit in Philadelphia. But aside from the personal stuff, let's just talk about Juan Soto, the player. For a young guy, he's still just 21 years old, to have such incredible plate discipline. He's a .403 career on-base percentage. And I mean, the slugging, the OPS, he's got the power, still has a lot of improvement to make defensively, but I think he's going to keep getting better. And just even when he takes a pitch and he's like this and like grabbing his crotch and kicking the dirt, which is kind of obnoxious, but it's also kind of funny. And you know, for all the Nick Markakises out there and the Madison Bumgarners who are very serious, you need some Juan Sotos who are just goofy and almost just like stirring things up a little bit. So I love watching him so much. On the Orioles, here's a name that probably a lot of people might not know, except I have talked about him in previous videos. Richard Blair. Okay, now he was with the Yankees in 2016, and I was at Yankee Stadium all the time that season. So I got to know him. I was always out there in batting practice, and he'd be out there shagging baseballs, and we just got into chatting. And we actually keep in touch now, you know, even in the off season, sometimes during the season as well. I don't want to bother guys too much during the season, but he had a rough year last year. He's a lefty middle reliever. His ERA was nothing to talk about. He'd be the first to admit that last season was a struggle, but to his credit, Richard Blair has a career 3.05 ERA, which is very solid. And, you know, he's getting up there into his 30s a bit, but I hope that he still has a number of solid seasons ahead of him. and just look for him and say hello if you see him. He's a quiet guy, but he's a really cool, friendly guy on the Orioles. Wishing him all the best. And Richard, if you're watching this, what's up? Moving on to the Padres. Got to go with Fernando Tatis Jr. Speaking of freakishly talented 21-year-olds, he is so entertaining to watch. So just, I don't even have the words to describe him. He makes circus-like plays in the field, and I especially like him because he plays shortstop. Shortstop was my main position growing up playing baseball. I got to see him play in person a little bit last year. It's too bad that he was hurt, but I hope he bounces back fully strong. And, you know, like Juan Soto, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Fernando Tatis Jr., these guys could all be future Hall of Famers. It's very early. It's too soon to say, but like they're some very young, very talented players throughout baseball that are just so fun to watch. On the Phillies, my choice is Didi Gregorius. Now in 2013, when he was a member of the Diamondbacks at Yankee Stadium, I snagged his first career home run. Gave him that ball, I met him, he remembered me for seasons after that. Very cool guy. So there's that personal connection, but he's also really talented. And let's not overlook the pressure that he had to deal with coming into New York and taking over for Derek Jeter at shortstop. That is no easy feat. And he just slid right into that position and quickly became a fan favorite. So I know that many, many people in New York, myself included, are going to miss seeing him play every day. But, you know, I hope he doesn't miss a beat and just picks up where he left off in Philly. They have kind of short fences there. And I think that short porch in right field at Yankee Stadium definitely helped him. So you could see him hit a lot of home runs pulling balls into the right field seats in Philly, 20 plus homers. Again, the 2020 season is going to be cut way short, but I think he should do pretty well in Philly. Moving along to the Pirates, my choice is Joe Musgrove, all right? Now, he was extremely friendly to me in 2016 and 2017 when he was on the Astros. Ooh, the Astros. And now that he's on the Pirates, well, he was a reliever. Now he's a starter. I think he could become a front of the line type of starter down the road, and he could end up getting a massive payday when he's a free agent, but that's another story. But he did this thing that was always so funny. It cracked me up and kind of freaked me out a little bit. Whenever I would see him at a game, I'd give him a shout, I'd wave, and then let's say I took my eye off him. I'm not just like standing there being a creeper staring at Joe Musgrove. I'm looking at the batting practice. Musgrove is off on the side somewhere. If they hit a ball to him and he saw that I wasn't looking at him, he would still chuck it. I don't want to say at me. He wasn't trying to hurt me. He's a pitcher. He has good accuracy, but he'd throw it really close to me and it would smack off the plastic seats and I'd flinch and I'd like look up like what? And then I'd go find the baseball and then I'd notice him in the outfield pointing at me and kind of laughing a bit. So he's a joker, a really cool guy. And yeah, I think Pirates fans should be really glad to have him on their team, just both as a person and as a talented player. Moving on to the R's. There are 6 different teams that begin with the letter R, and the Rangers are the first. And talking about statistical oddities, there is a really cool one with Joey Gallo, all right? In 2017, he hit 41 home runs. You know how many singles he hit that year? 32. So he hit more home runs than singles, and it wasn't even close. And for his entire career, that stat is actually true. More home runs than singles. It is so wild when you think about it. And okay, Joey Gallo, his batting average often hovers around the Mendoza line. He strikes out a ton, so he gets a demerit for that. But he's still very young. He's like 6'5". He's got tremendous power. When he takes batting practice, it is just like one of the most fun things in the world, not just in baseball, to see Joey Gallo launch baseballs majestically, 450 plus feet. So I always find myself pulling for him. On the Rays, there is a pitcher who works very fast. Okay, Rob Manfred is trying to speed up the pace of play. They should call Ryan Yarbrough into the commissioner's office and have him basically give pitching lessons to all the other players and get them to speed up as well. The average game time would be about 2 hours and 3 minutes if Ryan Yarbrough were pitching them all. So I appreciate him for that reason. He's only had 2 seasons in the majors. Last year in Seattle, Rays versus Mariners, Ryan Yarbrough, when I was there, came this close to pitching a complete game no-hitter. So that really made me take notice. And he's another one of those guys I think could go on to have a very successful career. The Rays, I think they're going to be a very solid team for a while, and Yarbrough is going to be a centerpiece in that equation. The Red Sox. I'm going with Julio Daniel Martinez, otherwise known as JD Martinez, who is a hitting machine. Last year, he had 36 home runs and 105 RBIs, which is like an all-star caliber season. And yet for him, that was a bad year. That was an off year. You take a look at his stats, he'll have well over 40 home runs and OPS well over 1,000. I mean, it's ridiculous what he can do. He's one of those guys, when he is in the batter's box, you stop whatever you're doing. If you're at the game and you've got a hot dog loaded up with stuff, a nice cold beverage, just put it down for a second and pay attention to JD. If you're home, you're on your phone, your laptop, you're giving a massage to your girlfriend, you just say, honey, I'm sorry, this massage is gonna continue in just a minute or 2 or 3, but JD Martinez is up at bat, okay, baby? You gotta watch what he does because he is a student of the game of the highest magnitude. He keeps a handwritten notebook, that's like a famous thing with him. I love watching him play so much. I know this is getting old. I'm saying about so many players in this video, I love watching this guy, I love watching that guy. JD Martinez is operating intellectually about baseball and hitting on a different plane from most other players, and I think it's fascinating. Now on the Reds, okay, I'm going to start by saying that I love the so-called two-way players. And if there weren't this guy named Mike Trout on the Angels, then Shohei Ohtani would for sure be my favorite on the Angels. But since Mike Trout is not on the Reds, I'm going with Michael Lorenzen. He literally does it all. Now, last year, when I was in Cincinnati in early September, in one game, I'm holding up 2 fingers, let's just hold up one. One finger, one game. Michael Lorenzen played the outfield. I'm going to do multiple fingers for this. He hit a home run, and he got the win as a pitcher because they brought him onto the mound later on. So he did those 3 things in one game, played the outfield, hit a homer, got the win. First player since Babe Ruth to do that in one game. Anytime that you are compared to Babe Ruth, you're the man, and you win at the game of life. And on top of that, Michael Lorenzen is ridiculously jacked. I think he's got the biggest biceps of anybody in Major League Baseball right now. I mean, he could almost be my favorite player just looking at him because it's so impressive. I very much respect and admire and just love anybody that takes fitness and health extremely seriously. I try to do it myself. I am no Michael Lorenzen. But yeah, I have many reasons to like that dude. Okay, now we're gonna move along to the Rockies, and Nolan Arenado is probably a lot of people's favorite player on the Rockies. He is the best third baseman in Major League Baseball today. What he can do defensively, it almost defies the laws of physics. And offensively, I mean, over the last 5 years, he's basically averaged 40 homers a year and 125 RBIs. And he's won 7 Gold Gloves. And look, you can talk about his splits, home and road. Everybody who plays for the Rockies pretty much is going to hit better at home. Definite future Hall of Famer, as long as he can just get a few more seasons in and stay healthy. And I'm glad, I mean, look, it's not my decision to make. I'm glad he's still with the Rockies. I know that things kind of got ugly with contract talks, and he's not too happy with ownership and management and all that. And maybe he will still get traded, but I love it when guys can play their whole career with one team. And when I think of Nolan Arenado, I think of the Colorado Rockies. Now, when you think of the Royals, I hope that you're thinking of Scott Barlow, because I do. Now, who's Scott Barlow, you might ask? He is a middle reliever. He has not pitched that much in the majors, and his overall numbers There's room for improvement, but let's give him credit for having great stuff. He's pitched 70.1 innings career and has 92 strikeouts, so well more than a strikeout per inning. And I really like him and find myself rooting for him because of the personal connection. Last year in Omaha, when there was a regular season game, the Tigers and Royals played each other. I was there. I was out in left field during BP, and Scott Barlow recognized me and actually went out of his way to throw me a baseball. And I forget exactly what he said. I think he said that like he's a big fan or something like that. So for a major league player to appreciate what I do, that's not usually how it works. So that means an extra something special to me, and that's why I find myself rooting very hard for Mr. Scott Barlow. We only have 4 more. We have the Tigers next, and I'm going to go with a guy whose first name is Jose. Can you think of someone named Jose on the Tigers? Jose Miguel Cabrera. That's actually his full name. Now with Miggy, what's fun about him is that he is a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's a superstar. Sure, he's slowed down a bit in recent seasons, but he is so good, and he is just so fun and goofy and ridiculous and just a pleasure to watch. Now, he's coming up on 500 career home runs and 3,000 career hits. Can you imagine if his 3,000th hit is his 500th home run and I catch it? Gotta think big, man, right? And as far as the personal connection, over the years, Miggy has signed 5 autographs for me and thrown me 4 baseballs. So we also give him a little applause, a little golf clap for that. But yeah, great player, really fun guy, absolutely love him. On the Twins, my choice is Josh Donaldson. I really took extra notice of him back in 2014 when he and Manny Machado had that brouhaha in Baltimore. You guys can search that if you haven't seen it. But it was basically Manny being Manny and having a meltdown. And Josh Donaldson was in the center of it, and he was just like, no, this is not happening. And I just love the way he put Manny in his place. Donaldson was great with Oakland. He was great with the Blue Jays. He was great briefly with the Cleveland Indians. Great also briefly, full season with the Atlanta Braves. And I think he'll be great with the Twins. So I'll definitely be rooting for the Rainmaker. On the White Sox, Jose Abreu is my choice. Came over here from Cuba and just fit right into the starting lineup. All-star caliber player pretty much every year. He is so solid and reliable. He averages like 30 homers and 100 RBIs per season, just goes about his business, gets it done. And finally, I'm going to go with the Yankees. My choice is the big man, Aaron Judge. I have a weird fascination with height. I always have. Aaron Judge, 6'7", 282 pounds, but he's like the gentle giant. He is as fan-friendly as it gets. He basically throws every ball into the crowd, road and home, every inning, the warm-up ball in right field, into the crowd. During batting practice, just about every ball that he fields into the crowd. He signs autographs. He is so damn nice and so good as well. 50-plus homers as a rookie, and then he's had to deal with some injuries. So I really hope that he can stay healthy moving forward. He is truly one of the game's biggest superstars. I mean, the most popular player, I think, on the most well-known major league team, the Yankees. I mean, he's a global icon in the athletic world, I think, already. And he should have gotten the 2017 MVP. He got robbed. Anyway, that's it. This was a long video, but you guys wanted it. You guys got it. So, as always, if you have more ideas for videos that you'd like to see from me, please leave them in a comment. I have too many videos on my channel, hundreds of videos over the years to keep up with all the comments on all of them. Sometimes I go back and look, but whatever the newest video is, I try to keep up with the comments. Just like on Instagram, whenever my newest post is, I try to reply to the comments there at Zach_Hampel. Definitely follow me. I guess that's about it. And yeah, this coronavirus thing, this ain't no joke. I know a lot of people were not taking it seriously when I first talked about it. I hope you're taking it seriously now. This is not meant to be an I told you so, but the sooner everybody takes it seriously and follows the guidelines, the sooner we will get baseball back. So even if you think this is dumb, for the sake of baseball, and I mean for the sake of public health, please take it seriously. So that's my little PSA to end this video. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.